Hi, Pocket. A little dicey tonight. I hope you don't mind the heat. I don't usually engage in public discourse about anything. My style in public, or even private social discussion, is as more of a spectator. I listen and on rare occasion provide my input, but I don't stick around in the ring to fight for it. For some reason, my friend Google really wants me to know that Monster Hunter Wilds is rated overwhelmingly negative on Steam. I've seen many articles written about this, so finally, despite my usual judgments, I decided to take a peek. As of making this video, only 16% of the 10,700 reviews in the last 30 days are positive. That's almost 9,000 negative reviews, so okay. I'll look. Stop pestering me, Google. Let's see what people are saying. The first review here is by R. Kelly PvP'd on me, with 287.5 hours on record. As of 5/28/2025, after 250 plus hours of gameplay, the game will no longer boot up. Genuinely, I understand and agree with this one, especially if you could play the game prior to that point, which it seems you have, dear PvP'd. One of the things I dislike most about modern games is the way extreme and hyperdynamic graphics can get in the way of the game itself. Things like flashy visuals and water reflections can be pretty decorations atop a good game, but these toppings and garnishes can end up enveloping the package so much that they feel less like toppings and more like seat belts and straps. The game is so encapsulated in all these beautifully reflected tape and jaw-droppingly textured bubble wrap that some people can't even see or enjoy what's inside anymore. At that point, it's hard to enjoy what's inside no matter how cool it is. Especially with how many good games are made with minimal file sizes and graphical requirements. Slay the Spire is hardly half a gig on my computer and it runs smooth as butter, while Monster Hunter Wilds is quite literally 144 times bigger and runs much worse. Is Monster Hunter Wilds giving me 144 times the amount of content? Monster Hunter Wilds is also $70, whereas Slay the Spire is $25, which honestly feels a little expensive for both of them, but am I getting 2.8, almost 3 times the amount of enjoyment out of Wilds compared to Slay the Spire? I'm not sure. In my opinion, I'd consider the amount of fun comparable, despite being very different games. I am the type of gamer who will play a game even on 20 frames per second if I really like it, and I've come to terms that my computer can't handle new titles, so I either skip them or play them on trash graphics and pretend that it's an upscaled Game Boy game. All in all, dear PvP'd, I find your review reasonable and your experience saddening. I hope that these clerical errors can get resolved so that we can hunt together someday. The second review here is by DM Blackheart with 344.1 hours on record. Oh boy, this one's long. Capcom released another unfinished mess of a game, this time above MSRP and obviously withheld finished content to pad their release schedule. Okay, I don't know what MSRP means, sorry. The game itself, in my opinion, feels finished, but like a finished meal without side dishes, I suppose. Maybe a finished plate in a multi-course meal. I've never had a multi-course meal either though, so maybe that's wrong. I'm trying. I don't necessarily agree with the withheld content part. I think a lot of games, almost every live service game, has a lot of withheld content, perhaps because of balancing or finishing touches. For example, I have a few videos that I've been working on in the background that are mostly, if not completely done, but does that mean I'm withholding videos from you? And if I'm withholding them to pad my release schedule, is that inherently bad? I don't think so myself, but I can see why you'd want all the goodies at once. It's a great game. I want more too, especially if you're paying a whopping $70 or more for a giga game like this. I have a few hours, many of which are falling asleep with the game on, or AFK hanging out with my wife. Okay, you have a wife. It's Monster Hunter Wilds Steam review, not a flex off, bro. Joking. And I will likely keep up with events, but won't be grinding this like I did with older titles. Sure, I think this is smart. As someone playing a lot of Wilds, I don't think there's too good an incentive to grind at the moment, and I actually felt similar about Monster Hunter Rise, despite being a deep fanatical lover of Rise. This isn't a big red flag for me because I don't usually enjoy grinding in games, but I do think World did this better for a lot of people. The Guiding Lands was a really rewarding way to let players grind up their time for value. The items it gave you and the experience felt rewarding. It was like being able to listen to your favorite songs on shuffle when you weren't in a particular mood for something, and just spend a few hours on the game. I don't think we've had something that grindy since, and while I don't particularly like the grind myself, I can see that itch going unscratched for some. I would advise you to wait until they fix things to purchase. There are other games and companies more deserving of your time and money. Not bad advice on the first half, and I've actually given this advice to my friend Skyrus before. I recommend Monster Hunter, but if you don't have the computer, money, or time for it, no harm in waiting a while. If you pick up the game in 3 years, everything should be all cleaned up, tons of new monsters waiting for you to discover all at once. A bit like waiting for a whole show to come out so you can binge it all at once later. Nothing wrong with that. Other games and companies more deserving of your time and money. This second half I half agree with. I think that Monster Hunter Wilds, even on my poopy graphics with poopy frame rate, is worth $70. I've had $70 of fun with it. I would say that a game worth $70 of fun, to me, deserves $70, but it might not be worth that much fun to others, obviously. To say it deserves my time feels weird, and my opinion on that comes back to the grind, I think. Because the game isn't so grindy and rewards me for effective play and not so much for massive time sinks, that I feel like the game respects my time more. So I would say it deserves my time, but this last sentence from DM Blackheart here feels more subjective compared to the rest. And I don't ever really think about companies when I play games. I'm just playing a game. Do people think a lot about companies when deciding to buy or playing games? That feels like brand loyalty to me. I think brand loyalty is silly. Then we have a bulletin list of 7 good things about the game. First, that focus mode is amazing. I like focus mode too. It's got some cool implications. I played some Rise recently and found myself struggling to aim the old way. Focus mode dependence is real, it can hurt you. Second, perfect guards. I'm guessing they mean are fun, or good, or cool? Though, they're much more weapon specific. Only 6 of the 14 weapons have access to guard, so I wonder if they mean the responsiveness of it, intuitive timing maybe, or the sound design of landing one. I agree, perfect guards, good. Third, offset attacks. Another mechanic limited to 6 of the 14 weapons, and again, I'm not sure what about the offset attacks they like. I'm going to assume it's just the existence of offset attacks, I suppose. I wish they gave a little more feedback on this one, but I also like offset attacks. They're fun. Fourth, that weapon designs are better than in World. Another one that I think's a bit too vague and comparative. I could say that the weapon designs are better than in Bloons TD6, but do I mean the aesthetic design, the mechanical design, the overall design of each weapon's identity? From a mechanical standpoint, I agree. From an aesthetic standpoint, I haven't really thought about it. I have a hard time judging and comparing aesthetics. Fifth, being able to use Slinger with your weapon drawn. This is fun. I love doing this in World. Firing pods in a burst right into the monster's face with sword and shield felt so cool. I kind of wish we had that sort of combo integrated Slinger mechanics in Wilds, but this is a nice touch either way. Fun fact, we can't use any Slinger ammo with our weapon out, like the heavy monster pods that they drop, the piercing and slashing and blast ones, which are super duper strong. They have to be used while the weapon is sheathed, and they have a little animation with their recoil. Pretty cool, huh? Sixth, layered armor system is improved from previous titles. I'm not a fashion hunter, but I'm glad not to have to spend actual monster parts solely for cosmetics. Spending an entire monster gem just so I can pretend to be wearing a shiny hat feels naughty, feels indulgent. Lastly, that Capcom seems to be fixing some things based on community feedback. That sounds like pretty high praise. Again, I have no idea myself because I don't really look at what the community has been saying about anything, but having a live service developer team fixing things the community asks for, that sounds pretty perfect. And definitely better than leaving hatch standoffs in a certain game for long periods of time. Hehe, so silly. I know what you might be thinking. Pocket, you said there's overwhelmingly negative reviews, and this sounds like a pretty good review so far. Correct. But we're not even halfway through the word count of this review. DM Blackheart goes on to list a whopping 28 bad things about the game. Okay, I might have struck gold. After all, over 1,000 people found this review helpful, so it's time to see what this is all about. 1. Performance has only gotten worse since release. Much like PvP's review we went over first then. Yes, this is no good, very sad. While I don't mind performance so much, and will tolerate a Minecraft-looking slideshow served to me on the platter of the smoking carcass of my PC, I wish I didn't have to. 2. Split skills between weapons and armor make little sense and limits build diversity. This surprises me because I actually feel the exact opposite. When I saw we were getting to hunt with 2 weapons, the first thing I thought about was how certain weapons don't care too much about certain skills. Slugger, which increases stun buildup, isn't really going to do much on Lance or Gun Lance, Insect Glaive, Dual Blades, so it would suck to have an armor set about getting plenty of Slugger, and have that restrict your secondary weapon. You might end up using Lance with a Slugger set, and that's a bit yuck. It'd be a bad idea to ever switch weapons mid-hunt. Or worse, with elemental weapons, in older titles, you'd have to make an entire set about fire or water or whatever. But if you brought a second weapon, it would also have to be that element if you wanted to benefit, restricting your build diversity, because all of those skills are loaded into the armor and the armor alone. Because weapon skills like Slugger, Focus, and Elemental Damage ups are more weapon specific, having them baked into the weapon itself means that you can more align your armor to generally useful skills that you like, that also benefit your weapon, while getting the major ones out of the way just with the weapon decorations. I can equip my fire bow with my Mizutsune burst set, alongside my raw damage dual blades, and not have to worry about the set being already built for my specific type of elemental damage, or set up with a bunch of range skills that are useless for my dual blades, or sharpening skills that are useless for my bow. Having these skills tied to the weapons themselves frees up my options in armor significantly. I thought it was very clever for them to split them up like this, but maybe there's something I'm not seeing, so I'm sorry you don't enjoy it, DM Blackheart. 3. Old existing skills are now set and group bonuses. Diversion, Resuscitate, Bubbly Dance. Another surprise because I consider this a positive as well. In Rise, I thought it was a bit sad that you could get Hellfire Cloak, the signature Magnamalo skill, in decorations and talismans, and just slot it into any set. It felt so identifiable with Magnamalo that when any build could have it, just by slotting it in, it felt like I was stealing the monster's sacred power. It felt like identity theft. I could look up entire builds about Hellfire Cloak, and not a single piece is Magnamalo in it. Tying it to group skills and set bonuses gives me another question when I'm making a build. If I want one of these potent passives, like permanent regeneration from Zoshia's super recovery, buffs after offsets from Doshagama's powerhouse, or more damage from resentment from New Udra's bad blood, then I have to ask myself which of those 2 pieces I want to fit into my build for the lower level of that bonus. Maybe I want all 4 for the stronger level and fully commit to it, but at that point, what piece of the set, what 5th piece, am I willing to replace with something else? This feels like something that serves point 2 as well, enhancing, in my opinion, build diversity. Maybe I end up using a piece I never would otherwise because I really want the upgraded Zoshia's super recovery because I'm running peak performance and I want to be at full HP all the time. Or maybe I decide to run only 1 piece of Zoshia and choose not to run a second piece, even though I might, because I want low health to benefit from heroics, and the super recovery might make me heal past that. These choices breed build diversity in my eyes. I think they're super cool. But again, the only reason I can tell this is a negative point is because it's under the bad list. There isn't enough insight in the review to tell me why they think this is bad specifically, or what they don't like about it. I'd love to hear more. 4. Bowguns lost most of their identity and associated skills: recoil, reload, deviation, free shot, mods, and today they nerfed elemental ammo too. Much like other things in this review so far, this feels more like a critique of Wilds compared to World and not Wilds itself, and I don't think that's particularly always useful. One of my complaints going from Monster Hunter Generations into World was that Sword and Shield lost its oils. I wanted nothing more than to break out onto the stage of Monster Hunter World, lathered from head to tippy toe with stamina oil, and run naked through the world punching monsters in the nose with my sword. But I don't think the fact that I can't do that means that World's Sword and Shield gameplay is bad, and I don't think that Sword and Shield lost its identity between these games. It certainly lost something, even something I really liked, but it wasn't so integral to the Sword and Shield experience for me to say that it lost its identity. I played light bowgun for a bit in World and I had fun with it. I tried it out in the training area in Wilds, and while I can see that the bowgun itself is less customizable, it still feels like the same weapon. The weapons do feel a bit different. I mean, it's a different game. But I'm so sorry they nerfed your build. Happens to the best of us, as it should. I'm sure it's still viable. Don't be so hard on yourself. 5. Several skills are bugged, or so terrible they're not worth using. Rapid Morph, Critical Element, Poison Up, and Flare. I had no idea. Maybe there's researchers figuring this stuff out, but I've used all of these skills and had no idea they were bad. And I've been doing okay, I think. I mean, I don't suck. Do I suck? Uh-oh, I might suck. But I'm not going to refute this one entirely because stench resistance does exist, and that skill is poop, literally horrible, and only serves to negate one fringe mechanic of Kongalala that doesn't even affect you if you dodge it or block it properly. What a silly thing to have as a skill. Other than that, everything seems pretty useful, if a bit niche sometimes. IG, IMO, TBH, am I slanging right? 6. Basic monsters need more HP. Most hunts last 5 to 10 minutes. It's a Monster Hunter Wilds Steam review, not a flex off, bro. Joking, but you're good. No, I think you're good at the game. DM Blackheart, you're good at Monster Hunter games. I think the problem here isn't that the monsters are necessarily too weak, and you're just pretty good. I also generally am not a fan of HP bloating alone to increase hunt length, but that's a pretty huge tangent for me. This criticism seems along the lines of the game is too easy, and I don't think that just raising HP would solve that. 8-star tempered apexes are a good example of this, showing a few ways we can raise difficulty alongside HP. On top of HP, they have faster attacks, more damage, and they're harder to wound. A little sprinkle of everything is far better than a fat dose of one thing, methinks. 7. Talismans use limited event rewards for upgrades. Defense and latent power need AT Ray, maximum might needs Akuma event ticket. Yes, but not really too impactful. There are plenty more talismans, and honestly the defense, latent power, and maximum might ones aren't that good. There's 2 talismans that use AT Ray Dao, and the one for Akuma, but much like the Sealed Dragon Cloth armor, when I did a build on that one, or Alma's glasses, for example, these talismans, these pieces of gear, are hardly game-breaking if you miss them, and can barely compare to most normal things you can acquire at any time. Defense is a tier 1 decoration slot, meaning you're using your talisman slot for a talisman that gives you defense 5, effectively 5 tier 1 skills, when you could potentially get 3 tier 3 skills from that same part of your equipment. It's not great. Hardly unviable, but hardly necessary. And if it really matters, you can get level 4 out of 5 without any of the Raydao certificates. Same with the Maximum Might Talisman. It's a tier 2 decoration slot for Maximum Might, so you're spending your talisman on 3 tier 2 skills when you could have 3 points of a tier 3. These limited rewards struggle so much to compare to ordinary ones that they feel like collectibles to me, rather than extremely useful FOMO items that I missed in the event. Again, you can get it to level 2 out of 3 without the certificates anyway. Latent Power is a tier 3 skill, so having it locked behind the AT Ray certificates might be trouble, but if you enjoy Latent Power and run the Ray Dao set for the set bonus to upgrade Latent Power, then the set is going to give you 5 points of that skill in a heartbeat no matter what. Most of the time, you don't need to worry about using your talisman to help out with that, and once more, you can get it to level 2 out of 3 without the certificates. I would agree that it's kind of sad that the Akuma and Ray Dao stuff is temporary. I'm not a fan of the limited time events, especially because both of them have an entire set of armor dedicated to them. To draw the line at the temporarily obtainable talismans feels weird. I'd feel worse about missing an entire set of armor. That'd be like if the complaint was, "Oh, Blanca-chan cosmetic for my Palico is temporary, no fair." Yeah, but we have bigger fish than that, right? 8. The crossover event with Street Fighter is garbage, and most of the content is locked behind paid DLC, and only for NPCs, the usable moves are buggy. The purchasable content is entirely cosmetic, so I don't care. But the rest of this point is a skill issue. The Satsui no Hado is not easy to wield. I understand completely. 9. The UI is probably the worst it's been in recent generations. Menu Hunter is a real struggle. This game can be hard to navigate. I'd love to see this improved, but I don't use the menus that much anyway. I really just be hunting. Valid critique, GM Blackheart. Hopefully, if Capcom seems to be fixing things based on community feedback, we might see that remedied soon. 10. Multiplayer with friends is not intuitive, and there's 3 different avenues for it. Another flex, what's going on here? And 3 avenues? I'm confused. I've never really had trouble with this. Not intuitive, I suppose, but that's more an aspect of complaint 9, I think, with the bad UI, right? 11. The Sacred mount disconnects you from the world. There's almost no need to explore. Yep. Wait, this is on the bad list? 12. The Sacred is often a get-out-of-jail-free card, allowing you to heal and sharpen in safety and saving you from death. So here it is, my nemesis. The age-old complaint people had about wire bugs. Oh, wire bugs are just an easy button. No. This Sacred has gotten me killed so many times. If it were a get-out-of-jail-free card, this punk would not be actively murdering me on occasion when I call for them. If anything, I feel like relying on this guy without caution has killed me more times than it has saved me. Do not trust your Sacred under all circumstances. They're sent from Kunafa Village as trained assassins to sabotage you. Jokes aside, it is nice to be able to sharpen on them, but if you really want to waste your own time, you can run really far away, or fast travel to camp or Farcaster, and then sharpen and then go back, if that would be more fun. Mounting the Sacred in combat can be dangerous, and sharpening or healing while on the Sacred still requires you to navigate, so you don't get knocked back off. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. On that front, I disagree with you entirely. In fact, I think the Sacred sucks, because in Rise, we could fight on our dogs, and that was awesome. That was great. And I want to be able to fight on I want my Sacred to fight. I want Palamutes. I really want wire bugs and Palamutes back. 13. Still no place for endemic life, and it's useless. No place? For what? No place? I don't understand what this is saying. There's no place for them? There's plenty of places for there's tons of them in the forest. They're in every map. This isn't connecting for me. Vigor Mantle Bug, Vigor Wasps, Pure Wasps. I think I use those more than potions, and I don't know if I've ever actually drank in an antidote manually. My useless radar must be useless because it is not going off. 14. No cat chefs. Skill issue. 15. Data miners confirmed full monsters with armor sets were present in the beta before release and were saved up until title update 2. No! Don't wrap Christmas presents, you fool. You must give them directly, unwrapped, in July. I bet those cheeky Monster Hunter Wilds creators are hiding cute events in their game too that they're not showing us yet. How sinister. I ought to complain about them before fully engaging and exploring what they've already given me. Okay, I'm being harsh. After all, this doesn't have connotation to it other than being on the bad list. For all I know, they're just giving me a fun fact in the middle of the rest of them. Let me reread it that way. Data miners confirmed full monsters with armor sets were present in the beta before the release and were saved until title update 2. Oh, I can't wait for title update 2. Thank you. 16. Can't easily play through the story in multiplayer with friends. I need more context, or this is going to count as a repeat of point 10, which is potentially a repeat of point 9. 17. The lowest amount of monsters on release in the series.
Aren't they wonderful, darling?
How many are there?
36. Counted them myself.
36! But last year I had 37!
Yes, well, some of them are quite a bit bigger than last year.
I don't care how big they are!
No. This is what we're going to do. Is that when we go out, we're going to buy you 2 new presents. How's that, Pumpkin?
18. De nouveau. Who? 19. Most of the innate skills for crafted weapons are useless for their weapon type. Crit draw lance, Lamau. Disagreed. There are skills that are better or worse for your weapon, but the game isn't going to put an innate skill on a weapon where it is literally useless. That's why we don't have sharpening skills on ranged weapons or gunner skills on melee weapons. Perhaps you're exaggerating with the word useless and the word most, which is okay, we're allowed to exaggerate just like we did with the word useless in point 13 about endemic life. But it is wrong to say that crit draw is useless for lance. It's not good, but it's not useless. I was actually working on a video a while ago about all the implications for the weapon skill focus. It says it increases gauge fill rates and charge times, which covers a lot of bases on almost all the weapons, but not all of them. Focus can appear as an innate skill on 8 of the 14 weapons, but it's really good on about 5 or 6 of them. And there are 6 weapons left without focus innately. But I did plenty of testing, and on only 2 of those 6 focusless weapons was focus entirely useless. I don't want to spoil which 2 because I might finish up and post that video sometime, but feel free to guess. It was really fun to think about, and genuinely surprised me. I think crit draw and punishing draw specifically are generally tough and effective to use on any weapon other than longsword, because that guy loves putting his sword away for whatever reason, but they do something. The skills can be niche or bad, but not useless. 20. 2 maps are essentially 90% hallway. Cliffs and Wyveria. Wyveria has some massive open areas, so I don't know what you're talking about, and the cliffs, yeah, that one's pretty narrow. Not 90%, but we have a history of exaggerating here. What's a penny more? 21. Still no body sliders, no height sliders, armor models are inconsistent, still charging for changing your character. I came to hunt. I don't mind if I'm not the sexiest beast on the battlefield, that's Mizutsune's job. I'm sure there's mods for that stuff though if boobs or booty aren't up to code. And Grand Blue Fantasy Relink has a little lady with a big sword if that's the selected power fantasy you're going for. 22. Haven't figured out elemental hit zone balance. Me neither. 23. Mantles resetting on a global timer instead of permission. There's a skill for that. It's called Tool Specialist, which reduces the cooldown. Only 5 minutes if you have 5 points of it. And that's counting while you're carving the monster, loading back to town, running around, eating, maybe picking up a new quest, loading in, like you said, it's global, and then running to the monster. If you really want to mantle all the time, there is something to help with that. I often forget I have mantles, honestly. I'm sorry this was such a bad note for you though, DM. 24. No layered weapons on release. Woof. You're gonna hate when they release Monster Hunter World. 25. Has bad aerial hitboxes, still some silly / bad hitboxes. Arkveld's tail hitting you while you're in front of its face, Balahara tail drill hitting you while it's attacking away. I actually agree on this one sometimes. Monster Hunter as a franchise has really frustrated me with a lot of unintuitive or unreliable visuals attached to tiny or massive hitboxes on attacks. I think this is one of the reasons that Diablos is such a brutal monster, because of the huge invisible damage force fields that surround its body when it swings. This has confused me plenty of times, but overall in Wilds, I think this is dramatically improved from previous titles. In Rise, one of the issues I had all the time was that sometimes a monster's roar came from its mouth, and other times it came from the direct center of the monster's body. It was monster dependent, so going from one monster to the next, knowing which way I had to be blocking or countering if I wanted to land my Metsu Shoryugeki on the roar, it was really frustrating. In my experience in Wilds, I haven't faced that issue too often. Roars seem to always come from the mouth, and most attacks are pretty clear. Overall, I can't say the game has bad aerial hitboxes or hitboxes in general. I think almost all of them are fantastic with a few exceptions. Like Kut-Kut's fireballs. They're freaking huge. What is that about? Those things are massive. Why? Little agree, big disagree. 26. The open world doesn't accomplish a goal. Is Monster Hunter Wilds considered an open world game? I don't think about it that way. That's because I fast travel between all my places and I really just go on quests. I think we're coming to the same cafe looking for a different kind of food. Accomplish a goal. How vague. 27. Skills still have vague descriptions. Well, isn't this a pot kettle situation? You're usually good at giving me examples, DM Blackheart. Some skills could be better, some skills are very specific. I don't like this generalizing, but I'll give you a tiny agree because I can think of an example off the top of my head. Recovery up. The levels of this say slightly increases recovery, moderately, and greatly. What does that mean? Still don't know, but the bigger is the better. 28. The seasons aren't visually interesting, and 2 out of 3 of them mostly make the world look washed out. Oh, okay. That's very opinionated. I can't really disagree with that one too much. I am curious as to which one of the 3 that they like, between Plenty and Inclemency. Inclemency is pretty cool most of the time, I think. But that was all 28 bad things about Wilds, with a few overlaps, so it was really 24 or 25. A big review, and hugely upvoted, so I'll assume a lot of people agree with these. Unfortunate. I do think there's some good points in here, but not all of them. Let's do one more. This one is by the Hash Slinging Slasher with 35.1 hours, so they probably just finished off Quemetries. Monster Hunter Wilds. Way too short, too easy, too streamlined, too expensive, and runs like trash. Actually quite nice and very concise, like poetry. I appreciate their brevity. Too short as a criticism sounds kind of positive though. Oh, Wilds was bad, it was too short. If only it were longer, you know? But again, shortness can be a good thing. I'm glad this review was short compared to the last one. But there's one thing taking me out of it. There's just a few typos in here. Fix this. All done. Disclaimer. Oh shoot. Should I have put this at the start? No, it's fine. But these are my opinions. They're subjective, not objective. That means I can be wrong about things, and that's okay. I don't mind being wrong. I'm not an omniscient god, so I'm not telling you how to think, or what's right or wrong. I ain't the arbiter of truth and falsehood, much as the confidence dripping from my voice may deceive you. Thank you for watching, fellow hunters. I hope you're having fun with your games. I'm sorry if you're having technical issues. That's super dumb. If you're having fun, play away. If you're not, find your fun. And if you're addicted, got some help. That's my 2 cents. Good luck, and goodbye.